Decode 4. Business privilege. On the previous Decode, I talked about small businesses, how it struggled. And I like to make videos that draw the links to the next video. So the business privilege. I more talk about how certain businesses get a lot more privilege than others. In only one settings. I'm sorry, I'm not that smart to know everything. So one day I went to the subway, a regular subway, grab my brekkie roll, and one of the workers who goes to the same markets as I often go to, and she said, the fruit and vegetables and meat and seafood, they cost more than the ones in the shopping centre. And I agreed to her. And I explained to her saying that in the market or shops, any shops, there's a rent increase every single year. So store holders has a choice. Is whether to remain to sell the same product with the same price and sell in more quantity, or should they just jack up the price just to meet the the wages, profits, just to meet the profit, just according to me the rental of the monthly rental of the businesses. And I explained to her in the market there's plenty of fruit and veg, meat, and all these certain shops, and all of them are there. And I'm not sure about supermarket, but I definitely can speak on behalf of shopping centers. A shopping center, a shopping mall for Americans, you need certain shops to draw your attention of they wanted to draw as much demographic as they can for anyone to access or wanting or reason of going to a shopping center. Example, cinemas. Within the community, you need community needs, such as a butcher shop, haircut, barber, salon, fruit and vegetable shop, Tots Lotto. And when you look at the food court, obviously you get to see a lot of multinational brands, McDonald's for Americans. In Australia we call it Macca's, KFC, Subway, or some popular coffee joints. But I specifically talked about areas such as fruit and vegetable, haircut, meat shop, or things like that. And I explained to the workers saying that a shopping center cannot just flood it with all fashion retail of all these national brand. If a shopping center is only just filled with fashion retail store, boy, that place will close down very soon. So what do the center management or the CEO or the owner, what they do is they only the brands reliable, multinational, big company, local, national, whatever you guys call it, brands, to place them in the shopping center, shopping mall, because it draws the needs of the demographic of the area. And when you do that, the only way to do that is to sign them into a long lease, and as well, or maybe, I don't know how long is a long lease, maybe 20 years or 30 years, I don't know. But sign them in a long lease, and they have the privilege, the business privilege of having the rent be the privilege. That's where the privilege parts gets in, because a shopping center needs these sort of brands in order to survive, right? So they give them a privilege because they know you're a multinational brand. You draw people in. When people come to the shopping center, this is the one of the top 10 things that the demographic wants. This is what they want to eat. This is where they want to shop. This is where they want to buy their clothes and everything. And you start to answer yourself, like, how much do you make for a saloon or a hairdressing or barber shop? Like, even if you cut, I don't know, 30 people in a day or 40 people in a day, even if you do charge $25 each person for a haircut, right? Like, you know, if it's $20, I'll say, let's just say, you know, they're expensive, but let's just say $20, and you got like 30 people in a day, right? That's pretty much, you can do your maths. That's like 600 a day. But you also have to remember, you have your, you know, you got your workers, you know, their salaries, you got the rental, and as well you got the electricity bills, insurance as well, and don't forget shop maintenance as well. 600 is nothing. I'm only saying 30 people, just, you know, even if we, okay, let's just say 60 people. Alright, let's just say $1,200 each day. It still does not really cover much on rental. Because these sort of shops, they do hold large spacing. They can't just have a small shop and do haircut saloon or things like that. Usually it's a big shop. Shopping centers or these businesses, they're calculated by square meters. I don't know what Americans, what do you guys calculate it as? Foot squares, or I don't know what you guys call it, but yeah. You know, they charge it by meter. Or you guys, oh gosh, what do they calculate? 5 foot. Yeah, I think they calculate foot. Yeah, I think they calculate foot, something around there. But anyways, you kind of understand what I'm trying to say. So they calculate by meters, and you start to say to yourself, well, how can $1,200, well, you know, every single day doesn't generate that many, you know, that many people. You know, some, you know, you got 7 days a week. I'm pretty sure you have your busiest day period. Every single business is different. You know, for the retails, for those who are retails, I think I'm only speaking for Australia. All right, usually it's Thursday, because Thursday is shopping night. So therefore, a lot of businesses will tend to open late, where those who come in and buys their stuff, you know, on Thursdays. This is generally the whole Australia, but for Melbourne it's a different story. Melbourne is Thursday and Fridays. There's a shopping night. Fridays open even later. So you got 2 days of the week that they tend to spend money, and it also calculates towards the you know, when they get paid when they get the salary, the income salary weekly. The cycle usually falls on Thursdays. So these business privilege, and you start to question yourself, if you have, like, you know, if you earn $1,200 each day, what about wages? You know, how many workers do you have? Like 3-4 workers for a hair salon? What about a fruit shop? Fruit shop needs 4 or 5 workers. Fruit shop needs probably more than 10. And how much you got to charge? But fruit shop, they need a bigger shop, right? That's where the money is. Now, you know, you kind of understand where people go to Kmart or Target. You know, there's a big shop and that many workers, but they have high influx of, you know, customer coming in and out, and where their goods is made from a very cheap to nothing, as they're mass produced by quantities, by millions, as they have, you know, large variety stores across the nation or internationally. They go to Bangladesh or Vietnam or any cheap countries, and you know where they get the money from. But what I'm trying to say about those businesses, you know, who just barely even meet, they get the business privilege, and that's where I said to them. And let's get back to all the way to at the beginning of the story, how I mentioned to the subway worker, well, the reason behind in the market, they don't get a privilege. Their rental increase every year 4% or 6%. I'm not sure about shopping mall, but yeah, but 4% every single year. But nowadays, you know, more and more people tend to go to shopping center because there's air conditioning, there's proper car park as well, indoor car parks as well, you know, lavish shops and everything like that. But when people think about market, they think about cheap stuff, right? When you think about market, the word market, you think about bargaining, cheap goods, you know, fresh produce. They get their produce from the market or from the slaughterhouse, from the meat shop and everything like that. And they sell a different variety, a range of meat and things like that, which you normally don't get in a, you know, where you normally shop in the Coles or Woolworths or things, or Costco or whatever guys you call it, or Aldi. They're selling a lot more, but they're selling a lot more expensive. And it kind of struck her when I said to her, well, some business has privilege. Because nobody goes to a shopping center if there's no well-known brands, right? Like what I mentioned, Subways or Myers or David Jones or McDonald's or things like that. People want to go to shopping center for well-known brands or things like that, whether they want to shop or not. But they feel like they're inclusive for going to inside of one of those shops. They feel good. And that's why I said those privilege, business privilege, they get the you know, rental privilege. At the same time, you know, it's a majority from a franchise, so therefore they're a lot more reliable. And they're like, you know what, you've been opening 20 of your stores in, or 20 of my shopping centers. You know what, I rely on you. You can open any of the shopping centers because you're reliable, and I give you this business privilege. That's why small business who enters in the shopping centers struggles. They mainly close or open, a new small private. And when you realize those the big brands, they hardly fall. Even if they do fall, they still bounce back to another shopping center. You always see them in another shopping center, or they still move to a different location of the shopping center to find maybe a cheaper location or better location, whatever it is, etc. But when it comes to small businesses, when it comes to like a market or things like that, it's a different story. And it started to get you thinking, because these are the supporting the people, the demographic, the local needs. And when I tell her that sort of analogy to the worker, and she began to understand why. But at the end of the day, money talks. If you spend less money with the same, you know, food, why not? Why don't we just go there and just purchase it? I'm serious. Why don't you just do that? It's a freedom of choice. You don't get punished for doing that, for all of us to do that. So yeah, nothing wrong with it. So that's the video of business privilege. And we have a choice. We go whatever we want.